Why is it that so many economists are worried that the economy will tank under Donald Trump? I've been hearing from a lot of people in the audience lately who are worried about what another Trump term might mean for the economy. And some of you have written it in and said things like, David, I intuitively feel that Trump's policies could tank the economy, but I can't really explain why. And the economy was mostly okay under Trump until COVID during his first term. Am I right here, or is it just a feeling that's not based in fact about what's looming here with Trump's economy? And it's a fair question, and it's one that's worth looking at in a little more detail. Now, the truth is that the concerns are valid. When we dig into the details of Donald Trump's proposed economic policies for the second term, there are clear reasons just looking at what we know about basic economics to be worried. Standard economic analysis does suggest that Trump's ideas could harm the American economy for the medium to long term. One of Trump's cornerstone proposals is to expand those 2017 tax cuts. Remember those? They were sold to us as these are going to boost the economy by generating growth. It ended up adding nearly $2 trillion to the national debt over 10 years. We didn't have the 10 years, but that's where it ended up coming in as a result of those tax cuts that Donald Trump did. The benefits overwhelmingly went to the wealthiest, to corporations, with really no economic evidence that it spurred any economic growth. Trump is now pushing for what he's calling the tax cuts 2.0. These cuts would go further. It would be the same sort of thing. But the problem remains the same, which is that we have no economic data that suggests cutting taxes for the ultra wealthy is good for the economy. We just don't have evidence that it causes growth. They're not spending that money. It gets parked in investments or stock buybacks, which can have a very small, not a zero, but a significantly smaller positive marginal impact. And meanwhile, the government loses revenue, which could be used for infrastructure, which could be used for education, which could be used for healthcare, things that in the long run grow the economy, although in the short term they do cost money. Another sort of hallmark of Donald Trump's economic approach is his expectation that he's going to rely on tariffs and trade wars. And we've already seen the effects of that during the first term. The trade war that Trump did with China ended up costing American consumers and corporations billions of dollars, higher prices, did not bring back manufacturing jobs the way Trump claimed it would. And in fact, we have research from Moody's Analytics, which found that the trade war shaved 0.3% off of the GDP in 2019. That's term number one. Second term, Trump's proposing these universal tariffs on imports from China. He's talking about Mexico. He's talking about Canada. This is a tax on consumers. This is a tax on imported goods. It will make electronics cost more. It will make groceries cost more. And while tariffs might sound like they'd help American producers by incentivizing domestic production, the reality is that in the short and even medium term, they end up hurting businesses, they increase costs, they reduce competitiveness. Third policy of concern, Trump has floated the idea of large-scale infrastructure spending. Now, you might say, why is it a concern that Trump's going to do infrastructure spending? I like infrastructure spending. Infrastructure investment is something we need. The problem is that under Trump, by their own economic analyses, Trump has no way to actually pay for it. If you ask him, he'll say, we'll pay for it by the growth generated by the tax cuts for the rich and the tariffs. The problem is the tax cuts for the rich and the tariffs are not going to generate growth. So Trump wants to do infrastructure spending with no actual way to pay for it. He wants to instead cut the taxes. So it leaves two options. You borrow a ton more money, or you, quote, print it, which is digitally created, both of which by their own economic analyses will drive up inflation even more. We've seen how Trump undermined the Federal Reserve during his first term. He said, they're not helping me, or they're deliberately hurting me and hurting my economy. That type of interference, when a president messes with the Fed, interferes with the Fed, that will shake up the economic stability of the country. That will make markets nervous. That is likely to be a drag on the economy. Finally, Trump says he's going to do a ton of deregulation of financial markets. He already did some of it during his first term. and he's going to do more of it, at least according to what he says. We know that when you remove those safeguards, you make a financial meltdown more likely. Doesn't mean it will happen, but you certainly make it more likely. When you combine that with the destabilizing impact of tariffs, tax cuts for the rich, unchecked borrowing, trade wars, all of that is logically making economists think this could be really bad. So now let's look at the counterpoint. Let's see if we can play devil's advocate a little bit. Okay, some of that stuff sounds bad, David, but it's not that different from the things Trump ran on for the first term. And pre-COVID, the economy was good. You've even admitted it, David, and it's true. That's right. I hear this all the time. If Trump's policies are so bad, why didn't the economy crash during Trump's first term before COVID wiped it out? The answer is basically timing. If you've been paying attention to this show beyond just the last couple presidential terms, you know that I'm not playing politics with this economic stuff. I don't play politics with gas prices where I blame this person or that person or praise them or whatever. With most of this stuff, a huge factor is the global economic cycle, business cycles, and timing. Trump inherited a very strong economy in 2017. It was the result of years of recovery and growth after the 2008 financial meltdown. During Obama's presidency, we saw steady declines in unemployment. We saw job growth. We saw a strengthening job market. It was the very same momentum when Trump took office. I'm not even crediting Obama. Don't misunderstand me as saying Trump has Obama to thank. Obama has circumstance to thank mostly, and Trump also has circumstance to thank mostly. Much of what Trump took credit for was the natural global business cycle. Go back to 2012. I was saying at the time, if Romney wins rather than Obama winning re-election in 2012, the economy will probably still be pretty good. Romney's plan to cut taxes for the rich certainly would have had some impact. It would have put a damper on the economy to a degree. But I expected that from 2013 to 2017, January 13, January 17, Obama's second term, even if Mitt Romney had won, the economy was likely to be pretty good. And similarly, Trump stepped into an economy that was on an upward trajectory. We then saw a real crisis, COVID-19, and we saw that Trump's response was so chaotic that the US did worse in the aftermath than other Western countries. Under Biden, the US did better economically than other Western countries. Inflation came down more quickly, et cetera. Is it all Trump or all Biden? No. But on the edges, did they have an impact? Yes, they did. So the inconsistent leadership from Trump, the bad economic ideas, the takeaway here is straightforward. Trump's economic proposals for a second term are deeply concerning. Revenue cuts, more spending, destabilizing economic policies, trade wars. This is not about ideology, it's just basic math. And standard economic analysis tells us over and over again, these are the sorts of policies that slow down growth, increase deficits, and generate instability. So when people come to you and they say, oh, Trump's a businessman, he knows how to run the economy, remind them that number one, successful businesses don't survive by cutting revenue and taking on a ton of debt. Of course, a business and a country are two different things, and even the comparison is fraught. But if you want to make it, Trump's history as a businessman is one where if he didn't do any of his business hijinks and he just calmly let the money he inherited ride a total stock market index fund, he'd have more money than he has today. Trump is going to do these things if he gets his way, unless someone talks him out of it, which they may. And if there's any saving grace, it's Trump might abandon some of these campaign promises. That's the best we can hope for. Men in the audience, this is for you. One of our new sponsors is Integrated Men, an online support community dedicated to helping men reclaim their power, break free from outdated masculinity norms, and find purpose. Integrated Men hosts weekly meetings that guide men in overcoming shame and self-limiting beliefs. If you feel lost, stuck, or like you're just trying to please others at the expense of your own happiness, this community can help you break free. It's not about pretending everything's easy. It's about embracing the chaos, facing fears, learning how to live with real integrity. They help men confidently into their purpose, to stop seeking validation from others, start leading your own life. The community dives into everything from setting boundaries, developing emotional resilience, understanding the 4 archetypes of mature masculinity. It's deep, it's practical, and most importantly, it's effective. If you're ready to step up, move past your old habits, live a life driven by purpose, not fear, I highly recommend checking out Integrated Men. Go to integratedmen.net/Pacman to learn more and check out my interview with Adil, and check out also the quiz that is a short assessment for taking that first step. The link is in the description.